Most parents believe that leaving a financial legacy means leaving money. Books written by those who have studied generational wealth for decades begin by gently dismantling this assumption. Money, they argue, is the least reliable part of a legacy. It can be spent mismanaged or lost. What truly endures is not the amount transferred, but the understanding that accompanies it. Serious books on generational wealth do not begin with trusts or inheritance strategies. They begin with behavior. A financial legacy is not created at death. It is created slowly through the daily financial choices children observe long before they understand numbers. How adults talk about money, how they respond to stress. Whether money is framed as a source of fear, controlled generosity, or opportunity. These impressions form a child's financial identity long before any inheritance exists. One of the most consistent lessons across these books is that wealth rarely survives the second or third generation without education. Statistics about shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves appear often, but the books go deeper. The problem is not that children are irresponsible. It is that they inherit assets without inheriting context. Without understanding how wealth was built, protected, and respected, money becomes abstract, and abstraction invites misuse. These books emphasize that a financial legacy begins with values, not accounts. Discipline, patience, delayed gratification, respect for risk, generosity with boundaries. When children absorb these values, early money becomes a tool rather than a temptation. Financial celebrities often credit their parents not for what they gave them, but for what they modeled consistently. Another recurring insight is that silence around money is destructive. Many parents believe shielding children from financial discussions protects them. Books argue the opposite. Silence breeds confusion, entitlement, or anxiety. Children fill gaps with assumptions. Transparent, age-appropriate conversations create familiarity rather than fear. Understanding replaces mythology. Books on legacy also stress that wealth should be explained, not glorified. Children who grow up seeing money as status or power struggle later with identity and pressure. Those who understand money as responsibility develop healthier relationships with it. Financial legacy then includes teaching children why money matters and why it does not define worth. Another powerful theme is the importance of earned exposure. Books warn against sudden, unearned wealth transfers. They advocate gradual responsibility, allowances tied to effort, small investment decisions with real consequences, participation in budgeting. These experiences create financial muscle memory. Mistakes made early and small prevent disasters later and large. Generational wealth books also highlight the danger of rescuing children from every financial discomfort. Protection without exposure weakens resilience. Children who never experience scarcity cannot appreciate abundance. Books suggest allowing children to feel the friction of choices spending now versus saving later within safe boundaries. This friction teaches trade-offs better than lectures ever could. Another lesson concerns inheritance structure. Money given without guidance often dissolves relationships rather than strengthening them. Books show how poorly designed inheritances create conflict dependency and resentment. Thoughtful structures, trusts, staged distributions, purpose-driven guidelines exist not to control children, but to protect them from sudden responsibility they are not yet prepared to carry. Yet these books are clear: no legal structure can replace conversation. Documents without dialogue fail. Children must understand not only what they will inherit, but why it exists and how it should be stewarded. Financial legacy is relational before it is legal. Books also emphasize that legacy is not only vertical, but horizontal. How families support each other, how resources are shared or withheld, how success is celebrated without entitlement. Children learn whether wealth isolates or connects by watching how adults behave within extended families and communities. Another recurring insight is that legacy includes non-financial capital: skills, networks, reputation, work ethic, curiosity. These assets often outlast money itself. Financial celebrities often say their greatest inheritance was confidence in their ability to rebuild, not the size of any check. These books also challenge the assumption that legacy requires great wealth. Stability can be a legacy. Avoiding debt can be a legacy. Teaching children how to live below their means can change trajectories even without inheritance. Financial legacy is about direction, not magnitude. Time horizon plays a crucial role. Legacy thinkers operate across decades. Short-term sacrifice for long-term benefit becomes normalized. Children raised in this mindset understand that wealth is a process, not an event. This patience distinguishes families that preserve wealth from those who consume it. Another important theme is humility. Books warn against raising children to believe they are exceptional because of family wealth. Humility protects learning. It allows children to accept feedback, take risks, and grow independently. Wealth without humility breeds fragility. As readers move deeper into these books, they notice a shift. Legacy stops being about control and starts being about preparation. Parents focus less on outcomes and more on readiness. Can children manage stress? Can they delay gratification? Can they handle responsibility without identity collapse? These questions shape decisions more than account balances. These books also highlight the emotional weight of inheritance: guilt, pressure, expectation. A well-designed financial legacy acknowledges these emotions rather than pretending money is neutral. Conversations normalize feelings, reducing silent burden. Over time, creating a financial legacy becomes less about planning death and more about designing life. Daily choices align with long-term values. Children absorb consistency. Wealth becomes background infrastructure rather than foreground obsession. And this is where the story begins to narrow. Because once legacy is understood, not as a transfer of money, but as a transfer of understanding, the focus shifts. Parents stop asking how much to leave and start asking how to prepare. They realize that the greatest gift is not wealth itself, but the ability to handle wealth wisely if it ever arrives, and to live well, even if it does not like planting trees whose shade you may never sit under. And understanding that the truest form of wealth is continuity rather than control. In the second half of these books, the conversation about financial legacy becomes less theoretical and far more intimate. Authors shift focus from structures to behavior under observation. Children do not inherit habits from spreadsheets or wills. They inherit them from moments, from how parents react when money is tight, from how they behave when money is abundant, from what they choose to worry about and what they choose to ignore. One of the clearest lessons repeated across generational wealth literature is this: children do not do what parents say about money. They do what parents demonstrate. If parents preach saving but live in constant consumption, children learn contradiction. If parents speak about generosity but act with fear and control, children learn scarcity disguised as virtue. Financial legacy is transmitted emotionally before it is transmitted financially. These books also reveal an uncomfortable truth. Many parents attempt to compensate for time guilt or uncertainty with money. Gifts replace presence. Inheritance replaces conversation. Books are blunt about the outcome. Money given to fill emotional gaps often becomes a source of confusion or entitlement rather than empowerment. A strong legacy requires clarity of intention, not substitution. Another recurring insight is that legacy requires progressive responsibility. Children are not meant to be shielded from money forever. nor are they meant to be burdened with it too early. Books describe legacy as a gradual handoff of understanding. Small decisions first, then larger ones. Mistakes allowed while consequences are manageable. Trust earned through demonstrated judgment. This progression mirrors how wealth itself is built. Books on this topic also emphasize that legacy conversations must include failure. Parents who only share success stories create unrealistic expectations. Children later feel inadequate when reality diverges. Families that openly discuss mistakes, losses, and recovery teach resilience. They teach that money is not a measure of worth, but a system that responds to behavior over time. Another powerful lesson emerges around autonomy. A financial legacy that controls children long after adulthood often destroys relationships. Books warn that money tied too tightly to obedience or identity becomes corrosive. The goal of legacy is not dependence, but competence. Not compliance, but confidence. Parents who understood this designed inheritances that supported independence rather than prolonged authority. These books also highlight the importance of narrative. Every family has a money story. Where wealth came from, what it cost, what it is meant to support. Children need this story to anchor decisions later. Without it, money feels arbitrary. With it, money feels purposeful. Purpose protects against waste more effectively than restriction ever could. Another subtle but critical insight is that legacy includes how parents handle enough. When is enough money truly enough? Families that never define enough pass down anxiety, not security. Books show that children raised with clear boundaries around consumption and satisfaction develop healthier ambitions. They strive to create, not to prove. As the books move toward conclusion, they converge on a central realization. The most successful financial legacies were not built by parents obsessed with leaving money. They were built by parents obsessed with leaving capability. The ability to think long-term. The ability to delay gratification. The ability to rebuild after loss. These capabilities compound across generations regardless of inheritance size. Over time, legacy-minded parents notice something profound. As children grow more competent, the need for control diminishes. Trust replaces fear. Conversations deepen. Money becomes a shared tool rather than a source of tension. Legacy stops being about the future and starts shaping the present. And this is where the journey resolves. Creating a financial legacy for your children is not an event that happens at the end of life. It is a process that unfolds every day through modeling conversation and intentional design. The money you leave behind may fluctuate with markets and time. The understanding you pass forward can endure long after accounts are closed. If this reflection resonated with you, pause and ask yourself one quiet question. If your children never received $1 from you, what financial habits, beliefs, and behaviors would they still carry into adulthood? That answer defines your real legacy. Share what this made you reconsider. And if you want to continue exploring book-based wisdom on wealth, family, and long-term thinking, stay connected and subscribe. Because the most meaningful inheritance is not what we leave behind, but what we leave within the next generation.